Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this episode of Focal Points. Today, we have a very unfortunate tragedy. We have Philip Haynes here, and he's going to introduce himself to our audience and he's going to tell us what has happened to his 19-year-old daughter after receiving three Pfizer mRNA shots. Philip, tell our audience a bit about yourself and tell us about this very unfortunate tragedy.
Hi. Thanks for meeting me, Nicholas. Um, I'm a software architect living in Australia. I'm also doing teaching as a science teacher. And my daughter was an elite athlete. She played soccer. She also was pretty good at long distance running. And on the 30th of July, we found her dead in the bed at home. We sort of didn't realise when my wife found her as if she was sleeping, and we called triple O, and I dashed out, and we turned her over, and she was stiff and dead. We then went through the process of autopsy, where after sort of a period, we found it was reported that she had acute myocarditis was the cause of death. It was reported by the coroner that was she had a viral myocarditis, which didn't make any sense to us. We were in touch with experts. Her boyfriend's uncle was a Harley Street heart specialist, and he provided a whole bunch of detail on the literature of athletes dying, and the whole story just didn't add up. So my wife and I have just gone through the literature trying to put two and two together. We found the original study by some Australian specialists who are going through the excess death rate of people with myocarditis, and we realised that this was just. My wife and I are both science trained, and it was quite clear that there was no way that she had slap-cheek disease, which she had when she was 4 years old. We then subsequently had international confirmation from an expert heart surgeon that the autopsy results were poor. They couldn't have detected it, and the only plausible condition at this stage was through the three Pfizer shots, which were specifically not tested for. Nor was even the COVID-19 to rule that out. We had a very good coronial pathologist, Dr. Harding. He took us through all the detail. He asked a lot of questions, and it appeared to us that he was being silenced about what he could and couldn't do, and moved in quite in scope to some quite narrow autopsy guidelines that were put out, and covering it up. So we've done a lot of connections with a lot of people just to make sure that we get to the detail of what's actually happened.
So your daughter received three Pfizer shots, and then an autopsy was performed. It found myocarditis, and the autopsy
And in
said,
the right heart ventricle where it doesn't happen is the clear case.
and the autopsy didn't conclude it was anything to do with the vaccine.
Not at
Just
all. It
ignored it.
wasn't considered.
It's just ridiculous, that's just ridiculous, because now we do know, as you pointed out to me before the show, and as we now know from thousands of studies, that these injections not only cause myocarditis, but they cause fatal myocarditis, right? And so this is so it's just so bad that we have like in your case, that the autopsies and the medical examiners and all these people just ignore contributions from the vaccine, which then results in more people getting the vaccine and more, unfortunately, fatal adverse events. And so, Philip, what else have you uncovered? What's happening with this case? This is truly unfortunate what has happened to your daughter.
And I'll be clear, it wasn't that the examiner wasn't aware of this. He did the sort of breadcrumbs story to my wife and I. He was limited in scope to the Australian autopsy guidelines by the other people. So he was incredibly detailed about what's transpired, and he was good enough to go through all the detail. Um, since then, of course, we were aware of what's going on. We advocated quite heavily, and we've had the case moved to New South Wales to be investigated by New South Wales Health. They've had discussions with our authorising agents in Australia, the TGA. I think it's not so coincidental that it's now not being recommended for children in terms of risk benefit, uh, which was good. And there's next panel to be held uh, next week into investigating the number of deaths occurring because of the vaccine and myocarditis. And furthermore, we were called by police, and the case has been moved to a coronial investigation in Central Coroner in Sydney.
Wow, wow. So they're finally acknowledging that this was due to the vaccine.
Well, they're not acknowledging it's due to the vaccine, but it's definitely now under consideration.
Now they're
And
finally. Yeah.
the comments back from the German CEO from the Germany heart specialist take into account that there's no way that the pathology results could have detected the actual true cause of death, because the other plausible cause of myocarditis, which is virus, they didn't actually specifically test for that. But as I said, we'll go through the science, we'll go through the detail, and whatever will be, will be. But it seems to me implausible that on the right heart ventricle, which is 1 in 2 or 3 million, you get myocarditis and causing this, as opposed to the other option, which is the myocarditis, which is the 3 Pfizer shots, which we know is a quick cause of systemic form of injury.
Right, right. Yeah, and we do know that the vaccine causes not only more myocarditis than the infection, but much more severe myocarditis, than the infection itself. And we do know that young people are at the highest risk of vaccine-induced myocarditis. And so, it does check out that, it was, like they do to the Pfizer injections. And what do you have to say to parents out there that are considering giving their kids more
Well,
mRNA shots, Pfizer
well,
shots?
don't. It's dangerous. My wife and I have got science degrees. I'm a science teacher at the moment. Do not. It is not a vaccine. What it is basically a piece of biological software which gets injected. It goes all over your child's body if you do that. And if you're a young person like my daughter, it will, in an uncontrolled way, generate a lot of spike proteins, which will therefore infer the potential for causing inflammation in an athlete's heart, as my daughter's was. There's one thing to give an 80-year-old some sort of treatment to keep them alive versus an elite athlete. And these are not the same things. The shot is not a vaccine.
Yes, yes, I agree. And so all of our audience here, you heard it directly from from a father that has been affected by this catastrophe, by this mRNA injection catastrophe. And I really do hope that, our regulatory agencies across the world, actually listen to families, listen to people that have been directly affected by the products that were pushed on people without any warning that it could cause fatal side effects. And so it's so disappointing that they're still pushing this.
It's completely unbelievable. The treatment for myocarditis is, if it's detected, and it wasn't in my daughter, it was subclinical. We had no idea she was about to die the next day. We sort of put her to bed, said, "Good night, we love you." Spent a lot of time making sure she was loved. She just finished her first day or, and we just found her dead in the bed. No symptoms, nothing. Had Aurelia known that if she got this myocarditis, the treatment was got to be doing any exercise for a year, which was the actual proper treatment for if you detected this thing, she never would have had it. I think she probably just after she had the shot went off and did a usual thing, did soccer training for about an hour, probably around 12 kilometres, which is absolutely the wrong thing to do if you've got subclinical myocarditis and also just had one of these vaccines, or not vaccines, sorry, genetic shots.
Yes, yes. So it appears so she was asymptomatic.
Completely so. She just made a university team for futsal to attend the national tournament for that. She was training for it. She was routinely running 12 kilometres. She'd come 12th in the state of in 800 metres. She was running, and we really had no indication of anything.
Again, I just really do want to give my condolences. It's so unfortunate that this happened and that this happened to your family, and I bet it's been so difficult, and it really does amplify the need, the immediate need to stop giving these to people, to stop giving these to people, to stop killing people. And it seems that those in charge don't have a heart. They don't care. And so, and you're very brave to come on this show and talk about this story. Is there anything else you want to tell our audience?
Well, I'm not being brave because it's poison, right? Let's just say what it is, okay? It is. These things are not safe, and people have just following an ideology, not actually looking what this is. My wife. Okay, so I walked down the beach in January this year trying to get through the reef. My wife can't work, and then I see that there's another thing for a 16-year-old boy. My wife caught up with her mother, in terms of grief groups, and how her son just dropped dead after going for a run. My wife went to church this weekend, and one of her mothers in the ladies group was an ICU with myocarditis. She's 42 with 2 children. The numbers do not add up. Okay, myocarditis is a very, very rare thing. What else could it be, guys?
Right, right. And so there you go. You have more reports of people coming in reporting that they're, young
The,
adults.
the
Yeah.
doctors know this. It's not unclear to practicing people on the front line what's happened.
Right.
But you will be in Australia. You will be deregistered if you start going too vocal on this.
Absolutely criminal. Absolutely criminal. You can't even speak up about the genetic injection side effects, or else you'll be.
You'll be deregistered.
Oh man.
It's you speak to it, and it's.
It's scary. That's scary. That's the point that you guys are in Australia. That's where you're at. That is scary. It does not seem like a democracy to me. Does not at
It
all.
is not science. It's ideology coming from conflict of interest. the regulators took the word of Pfizer, and this is you can go to the site and how they made the judgment. You need to get that third booster, and they went to Pfizer to get the judgment, and they did not look at the science. The science that was done, which had to get out of freedom of information, showed that the injections went across the entire body. Okay, so not very complicated. You've got a biological factory, it's injected, goes across someone's entire body, and if you're an athlete, it'll make protein in your heart.
Yes. Yes, and they knew that. They knew it was happening back then. They
No, it
already
was
knew it.
they did the test. The test is in freedom of information. I can provide the links. This is not this is not conjecture. This is this information provided by the regulator itself.
Yes, yes, and what that tells me is since they knew it and they still pushed it, they still gave it to basically the entire population. That shows some intentionality, and that means that they should be held accountable for their actions because they can't claim they didn't know this stuff. They knew it. And so I think they're going to be in huge trouble and they're going to face a lot of hell when this all comes out. And so I really hope that, they really get on the right side of history um, because people are angry, right? And people are not going to stop until justice has been served here.
Yeah, or specifically, I can provide a video of Victorian health regulators reviewing the original Israeli results. So it's not in dispute. They knew. They saw that young children had 213 cases over the expected zero in the test, and they get the data because it's of Israel. In Israel, they of course have military service, so they have good data. There's no doubt they knew. And it's my wife used to supervise New South Wales Health from New South Wales Treasury, and our view is that New South Wales Health are getting ready on the side of history because the TGA is a lot to account for. The TGA is our federal agency in Australia, sorry.
Yes, yes. And they knew here, right? They knew here in America as well. The Biden administration.
We were quoting the CDC data, right? I've got a video of medical people reviewing the data from the US CDC.
So they knew. They knew it was causing fatal myocarditis. They knew it was killing.
There was no. I'll send you the link to the video, Nicholas. They reviewed the data. It was crystal clear. The number of cases of myocarditis in a population that was not vulnerable to COVID-19 itself, 100 times more than the expected. 100. And the lie that it was safe and effective. Myocarditis, as you know, is fatal in 20% of cases if you can detect it. And our areas were subclinical. We had no idea.
And that's the most concerning part here is that like your daughter's case, so many other people could have the subclinical myocarditis that could result in sudden cardiac arrest, and they're not aware that they have what's now found to be micro scarring in the heart from this myocarditis. And so again, it's truly a catastrophe what's happening, what has happened in the past. And before we wrap up today, do you have a final message to tell to our audience?
Well, first of all, don't get one of these shots again, and make sure your children don't. They are unsafe. They are not vaccines. They're an experiment. Our regulators and our government just needs to acknowledge this has happened, because if we do not, as a community, deal with the reality that this has been a disaster, more people will die who don't get to die, and it's happening faster.
I agree. Don't get them. Don't give them. Don't give them to your kids. Don't listen to reckless CDC guidance, reckless TGA guidance in Australia. Don't give them to your kids that are no, they're not at risk of COVID
I
19.
just reiterate, TGA's guidance now has been changed in May this year, May 1, to not have them with your kids. It's just that is the guidance, not to do it.
So they finally admitted to being wrong and
It's not the balance is not safe in the recommendations, and if you go to the site, I can show you the link. They're even got words is was because they don't know what to say. It's such bad guidance.
mm, mm. Well, here in America, we just made the move to stop recommending them to healthy kids. So I guess, we're seeing some positive steps in the right direction, but
But
overall,
there's many children who will die, many young people who will die unless we treat the reality that this has been a health catastrophe.
this has been a catastrophe. I agree. I agree. All right, Philip. Well, again, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show today to share your family story, and I really do give you my sincere condolences. And I want to thank you so much for coming on.
No trouble at all, Nicholas. Thanks for speaking.